This year is entitled, Must the Son Follow, or Daughter Follow the Stringencies that a Father took upon himself? Father goes out and takes upon himself to stand during laning. Takes upon himself to dress a certain way, what he considers to be a more modest way. He thinks a Hasidic dress is simpler, and he takes that upon himself. Or any other minhag that he takes upon himself, he consults with the rabbi. He's not just doing it in a free spirit. He discusses with his rav what he thinks is appropriate minhag for himself to take upon himself. Does that become a family minhag in any way? And now the children are going to have to follow it. If it's appropriate only for a son, then the son would follow it. If it's for all the children, they'd all have to follow it. Fascinating shayla. It's brought down in Yoredeus, human ratio Dal and unless ifs of Gimel, that minhagim of the community are carried down to the next generation. And as long as you're living in that community, that's your minhag. And even if you move elsewhere, very often you have to take that with you, unless you go to a community with a clearly different minhag. If it's just going from one area with a minhag to another area where there's so many minhagim that you cannot necessarily shed that. So that's regarding the community, that you follow the community and you follow your ancestors. Your ancestors wait 6 hours, you wait 6 hours. They didn't need kitniyot, you don't need kitniyot. But what about your father? The community is eating kitniyot, he decides not to eat kitniyot. The community stands for laning, the community sits for laning, he stands for laning. The community sits for Chazar HaShatz, for repetition of the Shatz, during Shemona Esrei. When the Chazan is downing it loud, he stands. How does that affect the child? So the Pischei Chuvin at the end of that Yudal brings down and says it seems to be only if a child that when he's 13 takes it upon himself, he follows his father's stringencies, then he might be bound by it like a neder. But just the fact that the father's doing that itself is not binding. Rav Moshe goes that way as well. However, Rav Yashiv, this is brought in the Imre Baruch, Rav Baruch Simon Minhagim. And page Ayin Aleph brings down Rav Yashiv in his Chuvos and in his Perush on Gemara, where he says, no, the father sets the family minhagim, and automatically that goes down to the children. It's fascinating. Meaning, the minhag of the family can be determined in two ways: through the community, which their children are bound by, and through the father. He sets the tone, and he can have certain minhagim, certain chumrah, certain stringency that's carried down to the children. How many people follow the Maaseh Rav Yashiv is a good question. They want us to talk it over his or her Rav. Who do we follow? Simple, as far as I know, it's more like Rav Moshe and the Pischei Tshuva. But the halacha question comes up: the father does something, and does the son or the daughter have to follow this? Person should ask the Rav, discuss it with the Rav. Shalom.